Hello, everyone. My name is Raso Peralta, and today I'll be talking about a psychological disorder called narcolepsy. So, first time I actually heard about this disorder is during an episode of Modern Family, where one of the main characters apparently developed some of these symptoms. Whenever he was confronted with a hard task, he would have sudden need to sleep. Which now I actually read into this disorder, and it's nothing. They got it all wrong. So, narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a chronic sleep disorder that causes people to have sudden attacks of sleep and daytime drowsiness. And these sudden attacks of sleep is sort of like you could be doing any task, and you could just fall asleep at any moment, which it could be dangerous and troublesome. And it's hard for some people to stay awake and focus on some tasks. Like if you were to study for an exam, for example, it'd be hard, very hard to be able to do that. This disorder can also be accompanied by something called cataplexy, which is a sudden loss of muscle tone, which can be triggered by strong emotions. We'll be talking about that more later on. And there's also different types of narcolepsy. There's type 1, which happens with cataplexy, and then there's type 2, which doesn't. Unfortunately, so far, there is no cure for this disorder, unfortunately, but there are some medications that uh, can help manage some of the symptoms that this disorder causes, as well as some changes in your lifestyle, which we'll be getting into later on. One of the primary description of this disorder, or some of the symptoms that come with it, is excessive daytime sleepiness. So narcolepsy causes people to fall asleep, like I mentioned, without warning at any time. It may take a couple of minutes or half an hour before they wake up from these sudden sleeps. Um, yeah, and it makes it difficult to concentrate and fully function throughout the day. There's also how I mentioned something called cataplexy, which is a sudden loss of muscle tone. It can cause slurred speech, and this can be triggered by intense emotions like laughter or excitement, and or surprises or fear, like sudden like fears. Um, these episodes can vary from length. So you can have a couple of these throughout the year, or you can have a couple throughout the day. It just depends on how harsh this disease is. There's also some other symptoms include sleep paralysis, which I know some people I've actually like experienced that. But this is I guess this is a little different. It's an experience, as some people know, it's experience an inability to move or speak while falling asleep or when waking up. This is similar to a sleep period called rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. Not everyone with sleep paralysis has narcolepsy. Sometimes, like I mentioned, I don't have narcolepsy. I believe I don't. But sometimes I have sleep paralysis where, like, you wake up and you can't move at all, and it's actually pretty frightening. Uh, when people who have narcolepsy actually have these a lot more oftenly. And changes in your rapid eye movement, or REM sleep, is also one of the symptoms. It is usually a REM sleep. Some people consider it as when you start to get into that deep sleep where you start to stream. And this can occur at any time of the day with people with narcolepsy. They can fall into REM sleep between like around 15 minutes of falling asleep, which usually for some people it takes like about 45 minutes to an hour whenever you would fall asleep. But with narcolepsy, it can occur within 15 minutes of falling asleep. So when people who have narcolepsy, it actually affects them very greatly throughout the day. And there's also another symptom which I feel like is probably the most scariest. Is It causes you to have hallucinations. Uh, there's a hypnogenic hallucinations, which happens as you fall asleep, and then there's hypono pom pom pomic sorry hallucinations occur when you wake up. Many of these hallucinations could be dangerous because these hallucinations are like dreams, but they're more vivid and happen when you aren't fully asleep yet. So a lot of times you could have these hallucinations when you're starting to fall asleep, and you don't know whether if it was a dream or whether it actually occurred. So it actually messes with your mind, which is, like I mentioned, it's pretty scary because then you don't know what's real and what isn't. There's also sleep apnea. When just some people have heard breathing stops and starts while sleeping. There's other complications like obesity, which is weight gain. Most of this is related to low metabolism. And then there's physical harm, like you're more likely to get into a car accident or hurt yourself while you're cooking because you can automatically fall asleep while doing these tasks, and which is very dangerous. Uh, there's a there's a prevalence rate for this disorder is estimated from 1 to every 2,000 people in the U.S., approximately 3 million worldwide. 25% of people who have narcolepsy are actually properly diagnosed, and some of the causes, which I found pretty interesting, were with people who had swine flu or had the H1N1 vaccine, ended up having narcolepsy, which I thought is kind of scary. Uh, that's the prevalence rate, and there's other forms of treatment for this disorder. Some forms of treatment for this disorder are stimulants, drugs that you can take, which help you stay awake for a long period of time. One of these is called modafinil, which unfortunately a lot of these drugs have some side effects. Which this one causes headache, nausea, and anxiety. There's also selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, or serotonin and norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, SNRIs. These medications suppress REM sleep to help alleviate the symptoms of cataplexy, hypomagnetic hallucinations, and sleep paralysis. Drugs like fluoxetine and venlafaxine are some of these drugs that help with this. And the side effects for these drugs is weight gain and insomnia. There's also tricycle antidepressants that can be used. One of these is proptriptyline, imipramine, and clomipramine are effective for cataplexy to sort of combat this one of these symptoms. And the side effect for this is dry mouth and lightheadedness. There's also sodium oxybate, which is more effective for cataplexy, helps improve night sleep, and high doses of these help with daytime alertness, which is one of the causes, like daytime sleepiness. So instead of being more sleepy, you'll be more alert, which is helpful. There's also other side effects to this. Is unfortunately nausea, bedwetting, and worsening of sleepwalking. Taking these and other medications can lead to difficulty breathing, coma, and death, which I think is very scary. Any other medications that cause drowsiness should be avoided. Some of the lifestyle changes, that can be applied in order to sort of manage these symptoms is sticking to a schedule, like you fall asleep a certain time, you wake up a certain time. There's also what also helps is taking naps throughout the day and sticking to those nap schedules. Some of the other lifestyle changes is to avoid nicotine and alcohol. These seem to worsen symptoms. And regular exercise for 4 hours. Regular exercise 4 hours before you're going to go to sleep. This seems to help with to stay more awake during the day, and you fall asleep better at night. So yeah, that's what that was it for today. Hopefully I introduced this disorder, which honestly I've never really heard of other than that Modern Family show, and I hope this helped.